Hi. So today's video is going to be how to record a service. Some people call it doing your progress note, doing your billing. Okay, so I've heard it referred to as different ways, but really it is recording a service. It is basically saving in the client's chart what you did, what you provided. Okay, and it does trigger billing in some cases, so this is a very important thing to do. What is the motto that we always go by with charts? If it's not documented, it didn't happen. So this is recording that what you did really happened. So it is a requirement for any service that you provide to an individual. Okay. As always, my little chart that I'm going to display here is a fictional character, has no real client information at all. So that just covers my basis for my protected health information. Okay. So my particular person, Miss Hermione Granger from the Harry Potter books, she is open and active with emergency services. So I am going to record a service for emergency services. Now, this does not include how to do a DAP note. Okay, if you work in a program that requires a DAP note, I'm going to show you how to do that in a separate video. This is just how do you save and record the service that you did. Okay, so if you're interested in that, please stay tuned and follow along with me. Okay, so there are multiple ways in Profiler to record a service. This is by far my favorite one. Okay, so I'm going to go to Profile of Client. Of course, once you have your chart pulled up, make sure it is your right client. It is really important to record the service for the right person, and for each chart, every screen you're on, they will have the person's name, date of birth, age, and ID number at the top, so make sure that that is the right person that you want. Okay, I'm going to click on the tab called Plan of Care right at the top. Okay, now when you click Plan of Care, it defaults, so see this little dot here, to say treatment plans. Okay, when we are doing a service, so this is how I remember this. It's a little corny, but it's never failed me. If I'm planning to do my note, I'm going to click the dot next to Plan Services. Okay, if I'm planning to do my note, click on Planned Services. You want to select the cost center, which just means program. What program were you working in when you provided this service? This is important because some of our individual staff work in multiple programs, okay? So make sure you select the right one. So I'm going to click the cost center drop down, and Hermione right now is only enrolled to emergency services. So that's my only choice. That makes things a little bit easier for me. But if you have multiple options here, just make sure you select the one that applies to you. Okay, then I'm going to click filter list. And I am going to see a list of services that anybody enrolled to emergency services can get. Now, your client has to be enrolled to the program with a signed treatment plan in order for you to do this step and record the service. Okay, so if you have not yet done your treatment plan, you won't be able to do this step. And if you're not sure about that, I have another video about how to enroll somebody and launch a plan on them that you can check out. Okay. So the most commonly used service in emergency services is a pre-screen, because that's what they do, right? They're screening somebody to see if they need to be admitted to the hospital or if they would be better served in the community. So I'm going to click on that service, but you click on whatever service best fits what you did. We are saying what we did here. Okay, so I'm going to click on pre-screen. One click. That's important. 2 clicks will give you, I'll show you, this crazy screen here, and you're like, I don't know what to. Just, if you get this screen, hit cancel. It's okay. It's just how the service is set up. So you just want to do 1 click so it gets highlighted. That's all we need, 1 click. And then this button will activate, add recorded service. Okay. Now, again, make sure you're on the right person. So you've got all my information at the top of the screen so I can verify, yes, this is the right client, this is the right person. I did provide this service to them. Okay. You always, always want to start with this start date and time and end date and time fields. Okay. So the start date and time is, when did you provide this service? Okay. It's always going to pull the current date and time, but unless you're doing your documentation concurrently, and even if you are, you would still have to adjust this time back to the start of when you provided this service. So make sure that, let's say, for example, I did my pre-screening this morning. I would leave the date the same, but I would change the time. I would click 11, change it to 9 o'clock a.m. Okay, you want that to be right. Then I click where it says end date and time. Okay, how long did this service take you? Now, some services are going to take 15 minutes. Some will take 5 minutes. Pre-screenings usually take about an hour or so. So make sure you adjust this to reflect the accurate amount of time that it took you. Don't shortchange yourself, and you don't have to pad it either. You just want to say, I was at, pre-screening this person from 9 to 10, or I can even, if it was 10:10 a.m., I can put 10:10 a.m. Okay. And the cool thing about this is you can either put the end date, and you can either put the end time, here, and if you click over to the number of minutes, that'll adjust, or you can put whatever the number of minutes was, and it will adjust the end time to reflect that. Okay. This is basically a testing. I saw Hermione at from 9 to 10:10 a.m. this morning. Okay, it's very, very important that this be accurate. Okay, so the primary provider is you. Okay, it is whoever is doing the service. Okay, and I am in my electronic health record training account, so it's going to pull my training name, but normally it would just read your name. Okay, if you have an attending provider, that's usually for medical services only. So nurses use an attending provider. All of their services can leave that blank. Delivery method, how did you carry this out? Okay, so you put whatever makes the most sense. Client not present, which we know we can't really do for pre-screenings. Client present means that you were face-to-face with the person was there. There's an option for telephone, and not indicated on this training account, but at the time I'm recording this video, which is June of 2020, there is another option called COVID-19 face-to-face by telehealth. Okay, so if you were providing that service during the state of emergency of COVID-19, so you're providing it through, like video conferencing or something, then that's the service you would pick. So you just want to make sure you put the delivery method that matches what you did. Place of service, where was the client? Were they at a shelter? Were they on site at a CSB location? Were they at home? Were they at court? This is just, where did you go to see them? Other community setting is our catch-all. So if you went to McDonald's to meet with this person, that falls under other community setting. I am going to put CSB program site for our imaginary pre-screening. Okay. Once I get all that information right, then I can go here to this progress note section and click the plus. Most of our programs have a template that matches the service that they provided. And emergency services in my example is no exception to that. So there's one called Emergency Services Pre-Admission Screening. Okay, I select that template. All of their information is on the pre-screening. Okay, so they get a little bit easy of a note right here because they're just saying this is the date and time I did the pre-screening. Please refer to the pre-screening to see all the details for this. Okay, all right, so then you get to the bottom where we are going to sign our note. Okay, if your note looks exactly the way you want it, okay, and you've finalized it, you want to click this bottom box that says Final Signature. It will lock your note and it will stamp all the check boxes, okay? This is clinically signing your note, and it ensures that none of your documentation can be changed after the fact by anybody else. It can also not be changed by you, so make sure it looks the way that you want it before you lock it. But locking it is important, so don't just leave things unsigned just because you think you might need to come back later. Okay, I can always help you with that if you know, something happened and you need to correct a note. But best practice is to always final sign your notes when you're done. Okay. Then I'm just going to select the OK checkbox at the bottom. Okay, so I have my date and time. I want to make sure that's right. My number of minutes. Okay. And that's me. My delivery method is in. Place of service is in. There are all these little green lines around these boxes. So if I happen to forget one, it's going to remind me when I go to save it. Now, there are a couple of our programs that are required, to put a service subtype on all of their services, and that is a state reporting field, okay? I chose ES as my example, and they are a program that requires a service subtype. So if that applies to you, you'll see another green field down here at the bottom. See where it says service subtype? I click on the down arrow, and the case management ones are towards the bottom and the emergency services ones are towards the top. So then I would just select crisis intervention. Okay, if it's an ECO, okay, which is, I believe, an emergency custody order, okay, or paperless ECO, okay, that I would choose those. Okay, so you pick the service subtype that makes the most sense based off of what you did. In this particular situation, crisis intervention is the service subtype that matches what I've selected here. If you have any questions about service subtypes, please don't hesitate to reach out and ask. Okay, so I've selected my service subtype, and there's a checkbox here for clinical signature. Okay, and I've seen people get confused about what this checkbox does. What it does is, just like my final signature on my progress note locks that, okay, it locks my note from being changed or edited. This clinical signature box where it says signed locks all this information up here. Okay, so when I want to double check and make sure all the information at the top of the screen is right. Because if I click this box and save it, and then any of the information, start date, end date, provider, any of that stuff isn't right, that service is going to have to be voided and totally re-entered in order to correct the information. So you want to make sure that it's correct before you click that little box. Okay, and then I'm going to always save my screen. If I happen to hit cancel here and I've done all that work, the note is gone. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure to save. And then it will save in a minute. Okay, now I did my note. One of the things I love with this screen is that I can verify that my note is in there by making sure this from and through date is correct. Okay, so my service was from today, so I can leave that. But if I put a note in for the 22nd, I want to back that up to the 22nd, right? Instead of planned services, click on recorded services and hit filter. There's my note. Okay, so a lot of people like to do that to verify that it's saved, to double check themselves, to make sure like, yes, I did that note, it's correct, it's in the system, and I'm good to go. Okay, so that's a little bit of extra step just in case you want to verify that your note saved to the chart and then everything is good. Okay, that's all there is to it. If you have any questions, please reach out to me, and I hope you have a fantastic day. Thank you.